In this video we're going to learn how to estimate the rest of the descriptive statistics for group data. Let's start with the variance, because that would lead us into the standard deviation. The variance is effectively the sum of the fx squared, which is this column here, divided by the sum of the frequencies, which is this column here, minus the mean squared, which we already calculated. So let's calculate it. So it's equal the sum of the fx squared divided by the sum of the f. This we need to put between brackets. So the sum of the fx squared minus divided by the sum of the frequencies minus the mean, which we've calculated earlier, which is here in cell B13, to the power 2. Press enter, and that will calculate for us the variance. And therefore, if we take the square root of that variance, we'll calculate the standard deviation. There's another way of calculating using the sum product formula. Sum product of the fx squared, so it's the f comma the x squared. Let me put it between brackets. So these are the x's, the midpoints, between bracket, and we raise them to the power of 2. So the sum product of the frequencies B2 to B9 and the midpoint squared divided by the sum of the frequencies minus the mean squared. So that should find us the same result. We can equally assume that the midpoints are made up of the minimum and the maximums, square them, and then do the sum product of the frequency. So equal sum product of the frequencies, comma. Now here we have to do double opening of the bracket, the minimums plus the maximums divided by 2, the whole thing to the power 2. So that's the midpoint to the power 2. So that will, and the sum product divided by the sum of the frequencies minus the mean squared. Okay, so that's a slightly more efficient way of estimating the variance. And notice here that for this formula here, you do not need the midpoint, the fx squared. All you need is the frequencies, the minimum and the maximum, to be able to estimate the variance. And with the square root, you can calculate the standard deviation. Let's move on into the median. Now for the median, we need to have the cumulative frequencies. So we've calculated the cumulative frequencies, and what we notice here, because the sample size is 112, so the midpoint will be halfway that's 56, which is in this category here, because this is 38, so we haven't reached 56. We reach 56 in this category. So let's highlight it here with a yellow color to say that this is where the median is going to be, between 5,200 10,400. So we call this value 38 the CFM in our formula seen in the lecture, and CFM plus 1 is 75. So if I need to calculate the median, I would do equal the minimum value, or the lower limit for that category, which is 5,200, plus double opening of the bracket, 112, which is sample size divided by 2, that's a halfway line, minus the CFM, which is 38, close the bracket. That will give us the numerator of that formula, divided by, open the bracket, the denominator, which is CFM plus 1, 75, minus the CFM, which is 38. Okay, now the whole thing, so let's open the bracket again, the whole thing multiplied by the width. Now the width is the difference between the maximum and the minimum. So it's maximum minus the minimum. So that will give us the width. So this is the formula for the median. If I press enter, I calculate the median. Now notice here that there is a big difference between the median and the mean. The mean is 11,003, whereas the median is 7,700. So you can tell here that the distribution of income is skewed. So that will end our video on how to estimate the variance, the standard deviation, and the median. If I go into formula and then go show formula, you can appreciate the different ways of calculating the median, the variance, and the mean for group data. So that will end the video on our estimating the mean, the variance, the standard deviation, and the median for group data.